Hi, everyone. Welcome to Enjoy English. I'm Steven.
I'm Minnie.
Today's date is December 9th. We're on day 2 looking at pages 22 to 25 under the origins.
那我们今天12月9号一样在22到25页，一样在追根究底嘛，接续昨天的主题继续来讲咯。
Title, once again, is Body Piercing, From Ancient Traditions to Modern Expression.
穿洞艺术，古人传统，今人态度。
So here we see from A to B. It's to show a range. So in this situation, we have a range from ancient traditions, so things that were done in the past, to modern expression, to things that we do nowadays to convey who we are or to convey a message, expression.
所以我们看到这个标题的地方 from A to B， 它其实就是从传统到现代，这种有一种递延性的感觉。
Yes. The world of piercings, past, present, and process.
传动的世界，过去、现在与过程。
Let's find out more about body piercing.
Body piercing. From ancient traditions to modern expression. Although getting a body piercing can be exciting, it's important to follow safety measures to make sure the results are satisfying. Piercing leads to small wounds that require time to heal, and without proper care, they can become infected. Always do your research before getting pierced. Choose a professional studio and ask about the tools and materials they use. Piercers should wear gloves and use sterile needles. High-quality jewelry is also important. Safe metals, such as gold, titanium, and surgical steel are best, especially during the healing process. After the piercing is done, be sure to keep the area clean. Always wash your hands before touching the area, so you don't get bacteria in the wound. Use a sea salt solution or mild soap to clean the area gently without damaging the skin. Avoid contact with alcohol, hydrogen peroxide, or water until your piercing has fully healed. In addition, don't sleep on a new piercing or remove the jewelry too soon. Avoid unnecessary touching, and see a doctor if you start experiencing pain, swelling, or other signs of infection. With proper care, a piercing can stay healthy and serve as a lasting form of self-expression.
Although getting a body piercing can be exciting, it's important to follow safety measures to make sure the results are satisfying.
虽然进行身体穿洞可能令人兴奋，但遵循安全措施以确保结果令人满意是很重要的。
So make sure when you have a sentence that starts with although, if you follow it with a verb, it should be in the ing form, okay? Although getting a body piercing. And then here, even though we see, so one thing is a lot of my students, when they see ing, they always think it's the like 现在进行式, right? But unfortunately, ing is not only used in that way. In this situation, we see body piercing. Okay, it's being used as a noun. Okay, and then we see exciting.
Yeah.
It's being used
Adjective.
as an adjective. Oh my gosh, it's so confusing. Just know that most verbs in the present continuous, it's followed by a be verb. In this situation, it's not. But I'm just saying, like, a lot of times it is. But just know that it's not always going to be a verb if you see something end with ing.
所以大部分加上 ing 的字，它前面都会是 be verb， 也就是 be 动词。但是你当然也是要知道说，即便它是 ing 结尾的，它在句子的不同的地方，它的词性还是会依照它的句子需求而去改变。对，所以有时候我们就可以 ponder 一下，就是沉思一下，看到 ing 的时候就沉思一下，来分辨一下它是什么，多分辨几次你就会了。
Yes, and here we see safety measures. Measure can be a verb if it's being used as a verb and it means
测量。
to 测量, but here it's being used as a noun,
对。
okay, and it means 措施.
措施
Okay, so safety measures to make sure or to ensure, 也可以用 ensure, E-N-S-U-R-E, okay, to ensure the results are satisfying. So when something is satisfying, once again, it's an ing word, but it's an adjective, and it means to give fulfillment or give pleasure, okay?
所以 satisfying 其实就是令人满意的。那我们一定会看到 satisfied 的 ed，还有刚刚的 exciting 是令人兴奋的，也可以看到 excited ed。通常我们会说 ed 是形容你情绪。 一个情绪
Yeah.
所以我觉得很兴奋 I am excited 但是 ing 是形容事物的本体所以这件事情是一个让人兴奋的事情 This event, this activity is exciting 它就是 ing
Yeah, but if you say, I am exciting, what does that mean?
那就是我是一个兴奋的人
我是会令人兴奋的人 right?
对，
Yeah.
就是事物的本体
Exactly. So it's a really good thing to bring up because a lot of times people do get confused about the difference between boring and bored.
对
Okay, so if 我很无聊，中文 both is 我很无聊
I'm
right?
bored, I'm
可是
boring
I'm bored 是我
我觉得无聊
感觉无聊，但是 I'm boring
我是一个无聊的人
我会令人觉得很无聊 right? So that's something to remember.
没错
Piercing leads to small wounds that require time to heal. And without proper care, they can become infected.
所以穿洞会造成需要时间愈合的一些小伤口。如果没有适当的照顾，他们有可能会 infected， 就是可能会受到感染。
Yeah, so here we see the verb leads to. Okay, you can also use causes. Piercing causes small wounds. And then what is a wound? It's an injury, and usually it's when the skin is cut or broken. Okay? And these require time or they need time to heal. What does it mean to heal? That means to get better. Okay? And without proper care, without the correct type of care, they can become infected.
所以这边有几个蛮重要的字，第一个是 lead to， 老师有说可以是 cause， C-A-U-S-E cause， 也就是造成的意思。再来第二个字是 wound 这个字，其实对很多在学英文的人来讲，这个发音可能不是这么好发，但是就是
It's like kind of W-O-O-N-D, wound, okay? Because sometimes if you see like a word with O-U-N-D, for instance, bound, B-O-U-N-D, which means like kind of going, you're going in a direction, you're bound for Taipei. Yeah, so 就是前往那个方向. So in that situation, it's more bound. But when there's a W, it's just wound, okay, with a longer O sound. Okay, but don't forget the N sound as well.
对，所以这个 wound 其实就是当你的皮肤有受损、有切口的时候，它是一个 cut 的时候，就可以叫 wound。然后再来，老师有说 require， 它其实也可以是 need， 就是你有需要、需求。heal 是疗愈的意思，是恢复、修复的意思。再来 proper care，proper 其实就是代表说它是适当的，例如像你去一个场合，你需要穿 proper clothes， 也是适合这个场合的衣服，所以 proper 这个字其实蛮好用的。
对，因为这个 sentence 也可以直接没有那个 without proper care，只是因为它有个 comma without proper care，就是让你知道this not part of the main sentence。
对，它是补充说明的。
补充说明，因为让你补充知道，因为有这个状况就会有 chance 它会 infected，对，它会有
感染的状况。
Exactly. All right, let's take a short break. Always do your research before getting pierced.
第二段的第一句就是讲了重点，对，他说在穿洞之前，你一定要先做研究。
So here we're starting with an adverb, but then we don't really see a subject. Okay, what is that? Usually that's when the subject is actually you. Okay, it's kind of a command. So you always do your research before getting pierced is what it's actually saying. But whenever we're addressing someone directly, we don't need to put the you in there.
所以老师刚刚说的 command 其实有点像是命令句，但是主词其实就是谁？就是你啊，对吗？要去穿洞的这个你，所以就是你应该要先做好你该做的研究才去。
Yes. choose a professional studio and ask about the tools and materials they use.
你看这边也是用 choose 直接开头，选择一间专业的工作室，并询问他们所使用的工具和材料。
Yeah, so even after and, we're continuing talking to you directly. So then the verb ask goes directly after and. Okay, so that's something to pay attention to. When you're giving someone a command or telling them to do something, this is a way to do it. You don't need to have the subject you in the sentence.
对，命令句的写法，原形动词当开头。
Piercers should wear gloves and use sterile needles.
穿洞师应该戴上手套，并使用无菌的针具。
Yes. So one thing I always tell my students is, like whenever you see ER after a verb, it's not always the case, but a lot of times it's the person who does that action.
没错。
Okay? Like teacher, right? The person who teaches. Singer, the person who sings.
Dancer,
the person who dances. Exactly. So here we see piercer, so we know that's a person who pierces. Okay. They should wear gloves and use sterile needles. So what are sterile needles? Sterile, this adjective means free from bacteria or living microorganisms. Okay.
所以 sterile 这个字会是我们这一课稍微比较大一点的单字，它其实就是无菌的，就代表说它是没有菌的。
High quality jewelry is also important.
高品质的饰品也很重要。
So what is high quality? This is used as an adjective, even though it's taking two words and putting them together. A lot of times when we see that hyphen, that means that this word is being used as an adjective.
对，它是复合的。
Yes. So it just means of very good quality. So the opposite of that is
low
quality, right? So high quality jewelry is also important.
所以高品质的饰品也很重要。
Safe metals such as gold, titanium, and surgical steel are best, especially during the healing process.
那他这边就举例说明什么叫高品质的饰品呢？像是黄金、纯钛以及医疗钢这些安全金属是最佳选择，特别是在你这个愈合的过程中。
So we know a word surgery, right? Surgery is a noun. So anything that is part of a surgery, the adjective would be surgical. Exactly. So surgical steel are best, especially during the healing process. 尤其是在 healing process. So here we see healing. Earlier we saw the word heal. Okay, and heal was the verb. This is the adjective, just adding ing, the healing process.
疗愈的过程，愈合的过程。
Exactly. All right, let's take a short break. After the piercing is done, be sure to keep the area clean.
穿洞完成后，一定要保持该部位是干净的。
So when we have a sentence that doesn't start with the subject, like in this situation, after the piercing is done, we're kind of giving the setting first. It does kind of help the reader or the listener know, like, what setting are we talking about this particular action? The particular action that we're talking about now is to keep the area clean, or to be sure or ensure that the area is kept clean. Okay, so this is a good way to write in English to get people in the right mindset. So it's not so confusing, because sometimes sentences can be very long. And then if you put like the setting like in the very end of the sentence, then it kind of makes it confusing for the listener.
没错，所以像这边 after the piercing is done，它用 after 这个开头的话，它是一个连接词开头，它其实也同样的就是在给你的读者一个 setting， 也就是一个背景知识的补充。所以当我把这个背景知识、把这个背景着重在这个小范围的时候，你的读者或听者他就可以更去聚焦，知道你在说什么。
Yeah. And be sure to keep the area clean. 就是要维持干净. Okay. And the area is like any location.
你穿洞的那个部位。
Yeah, that particular location.
Yes.
Okay. Always wash your hands before touching the area so you don't get bacteria in the wound.
这好像我在跟我儿子讲话啊，在触碰伤口之前，务必要先洗手，以免细菌跑进伤口内。
Yes. So here, I think I want to teach a word, contaminate. Okay. You don't want to contaminate the wound with bacteria. CONTAMINATE. Contaminate in the noun form would be contamination.
就是污染的意思。
Yes.
对
Yeah.
他也没有说到真的说感染，但它就是污染的意思。
Yes. And here we see don't get bacteria in the wound. Okay, 就是不要让细菌进到这个伤口。So don't get bacteria in the wound. So yeah, I think it's one of those things like when you do see certain verbs, like when I see things about bacteria, I automatically think of the word contaminate. So that's why, even though it's a longer word, I do think it's one that is one that you should learn. Yeah.
这个字我最近超常用，因为我儿子开始会用他吃过的汤匙，然后想要再去挖新的东西。Don't contaminate that everybody's food.
Yeah.
就是这个字。
Exactly. Use a sea salt solution or mild soap to clean the area gently without damaging the skin.
好 ，gently 这个字很重要，我不要再听到 softly 了，拜托。很多人温柔的不知道为什么，就是一定因为温柔应该就是 gentle 像 gentleman 嘛，对不对？但很多人都说softly，然后我就哈。对 ，anyway， 好，这个句子呢，它是说使用盐水溶液或者是温和的肥皂。Gently, okay, 温柔的清洁该区域，不要损害皮肤。
Oh, you're right. I actually never really thought about that. I think softly, a lot of times we use that more when you're speaking. Like, speak softly.
就是小声一点。
小心一点. It's more kind of like a lesser degree of something.
因为你一直用 softly 去叫别人的话，感觉也很没礼貌哎。一直叫别人 soft 也不对啊。
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think so. Gently is more neutral, I think, when you're talking about physical actions.
所以我们都学过 gentleman 这个字 ，gently 把它一起学起来。
Okay, that's a really good point. I never really thought about that. So a sea salt solution or mild soap to clean the area gently without damaging the skin. Here we have the preposition, which means in absence of damaging the skin. Okay. Avoid contact with alcohol, hydrogen peroxide, or water until your piercing has fully healed.
所以在穿洞的完全愈合之前，要 avoid 要避免接触到酒精、双氧水或者是水。
So that 双氧水 is
双氧水
very difficult to say in English. Hydrogen and then peroxide. So the X is pronounced more like an S. Okay, peroxide. Or water until your piercing has fully healed. And here we see the adverb fully to emphasize that the wound needs to be completely healed. Okay?
没错。
All right, let's take a short break. In addition, don't sleep on a new piercing or remove the jewelry too soon.
In addition， 它也是一个很好写文章。In addition 就是代表说，我还没有讲完哦，那我还有 more information 要告诉你哦。
Right.
所以这边就是此外，不要压着新穿的洞睡觉，也不要过早取下饰品。
Some people might say you could write also, right? Also, don't sleep on a new piercing. But I feel like also is a little bit more informal.
对，比较不正式。
Yeah, so if you're doing a writing, I think to start a paragraph, usually you want to see something that's a little bit more
Longer.
formal, right? So in addition is a very good choice to kind of let
非常。
the reader or the listener know that there's additional information that's going to be given.
Yes.
Okay, so sleeping on something, it just means that, like, for instance, you have an earring and then you sleep on top of it.
压着它。
压着它, so that's sleeping on something. Okay, but a more like modern slang of the word sleep on something, it means that you ignored something or you didn't recognize something. So let's say there's a song that's so popular and I didn't know, everyone knows it. I'll be like, wow, I really slept on this song. I didn't know the song was so popular. Okay, don't sleep on this trend, okay? Yeah, this is also something that we say.
所以 sleep on 在比较口语的讲法，比较现代口语的讲法，就有点像是错过 miss out 的感觉。
Yes, but here it means literally, 就是字面上的 don't sleep on
真的是睡在上面，压在上
a
面。
new piercing or removing it too soon. Avoid unnecessary touching and see a doctor if you start experiencing pain, swelling, or other signs of infection.
所以你看，我们这边又回到了这个有点像是 command 给别人命令句 avoid， 它直接用原形动词开头，对吧？所以这边它是告诉你避免不必要的触碰，如果开始出现疼痛、swelling 肿胀或其他的感染征兆，就要立刻马上去看医生。
我喜欢这个 avoid unnecessary touching, right?
Yeah.
So there is necessary touching. Like
需要 清洁
You have to clean
Yeah.
yourself. You have to wash your face, wash your hands. That's necessary touching. But sometimes you don't have to touch your arm or touch other places. That's unnecessary touching.
不需要的。
Yes. And see a doctor if you start experiencing or having pain and swelling. What is swelling? To swell, it means to kind of like
肿起来
yeah, 肿起来. So swell is the verb, S-W-E-L-L. Here is being used as the noun. If you start experiencing this thing where things start to get bigger because of infection.
症状
And or other signs of infection. So that means that pain and swelling are signs of infection. Okay, 因为它像是就才会写 other signs of infection.
对
And make sure that signs, even though it has a G in the middle, it's not pronounced. The G is silent, so it's signs.
没错
With proper care, a piercing can stay healthy and serve as a lasting form of self-expression.
所以它这边的 with proper care 就是代表说有着透过适当的照顾，穿洞可以保持健康，并象征一种持久的自我表达方式。就像my pierce， 我应该是18岁的时候吧，所以现在也好久了。
I do know that piercings in places such as Taipei, because it's more humid, like the
闷热
air is a little more wet, right? So it's easier to have infections after piercings.
yeah.
So it's definitely a good idea to really make sure that you keep the area clean and to make sure it's not contaminated in any way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's something to look out for if you're interested in getting a piercing, right? And here we see the verb serve. Serve can be used like in a restaurant.
服务
Yeah, 服务, serve someone. But here it's saying to act as or to be used as. Okay, so a piercing can stay healthy and be used as a lasting form of self-expression. So here, lasting, it's being used as an adjective, and it means to endure for a long period of time.
持续的
持续的 my lasting love for many. 我的持续的就是不会那么短暂的 okay, for a long time. Okay, so lasting form or a mode of or way of self-expression. And we talked about what self-expression means in yesterday's lesson, but just to review, it just means the expression of one's feelings, thoughts, or ideas.
自我表达方式。
Yes. All right. So hopefully you guys learned a lot about piercings in
yeah.
the past 2 days. You only have 2, right? Your ears?
Yeah, I used to have a tongue one, but then
Wow.
yeah, 那是也是一个故事。
So edgy.
I know, yeah. 然后我睡觉睡，第一天回家睡觉睡，隔天起来就不见了，后
Oh
来
my
发现
gosh.
吞下去。
No way.
Yeah, that's why I never get it again.
Oh my gosh. 我刚刚说 edgy, E-D-G-Y,
前
edge.
卫
E-D-G-E 就是在边缘嘛，所以 edgy 就是说你就是有一点 like 很前卫，很有态度，
在边边
在边边，
yeah,
对对对。All right, so we'll see you guys next time. All right, bye bye.
拜拜。